Welcome to the CFFL morning after the wild card week. We will go over the week that was in brief detail, and then have the fantasy all pro team and look ahead to the week coming up. So first of all, we'll take a look at the week that was. In the wild card week, we saw the Dynamite score 94 points in advance, only the second playoff victory for the Dynamite in their history. Team Price's Right streak of 4 straight Super Bowls, tying the league record, is over. They'll play the Bruisers next week for the 5th place game. Winner gets 50, 6th place team gets 20. Badgers scored one of the highest scoring points in playoff history with 106. I did notice 108 by the Bruisers in 2018, and I looked at the team. DeAndre Hopkins and Tyreek Hill were on the Bruisers, but were on the bench that week for him. So kind of interesting that two current receivers who still have prominent roles in the NFL were on his team there. Colts defeat the Dingoes to advance in the Jim Shavina in the consolation round in the battle for the Jim Shavina Consolation Memorial Belt. And then the Little Big Men take down the Maulers. Both teams will advance, but the Little Big Men now will play the lower seed, the Colts. Maulers will play the winner of Dr. Dane and the Minotaur, so he plays Dr. Dangerous next week to advance. And as for the consolation round, we may have a repeat champion, a back-to-back champion with Dr. Dangerous in the final four. The Colts have never won the consolation belt. The Maulers have won it in the past, and the Little Big Men have never won it. So we may have a fairly new chance, or a fairly decent chance for a new winner in the consolation round. As for the all fantasy team, first of all, we have Lamar Jackson at 17.9 points. Last year, Josh Allen had 19.1. So quarterback play was down a little bit this year, and quarterback play was down last year from the year before. So it's really it's at its bottom right now, probably at the valley. So the Little Big Men get the quarterback there. Good year by Lamar. Good year by Jalen Hurts was kind of up and down. Josh Allen really came on at the end. He was pretty mediocre fantasy-wise through the first 12, 11, 10 weeks of the year for the most part, because they ran so much. And Joe Burrow, I think, was number 3 or 4 most of the year. His lack of rushing kind of keeps him. That's about his ceiling. Saquon Barkley at 14 points per game, same as last year's. Christian McCaffrey, really good year by Saquon. Maybe the fantasy MVP. We'll have to see. A really good year by him as he carried the Gargoyles Dynamite Pterodactyls to only their second playoff victory in history. Derrick Henry finished second at 12.9, better than last year's Raheem Mostert at 12.2. The Maulers there have him. He really was fantastic start of the year, a little bit less so at the end of the year, but still a great year by Derrick Henry, and a good pick at pick number 8, I believe, in the first round. Jamar Chase, another candidate for MVP with the Little Big Men, 12.2 points per game. Last year, Tyreek Hill had 12 points per game as the top receiver. Jamar Chase was unbelievable this year, where he would be a guy who could score 2 or 3 touchdowns in a week and have, close to 200 yards. So he was a guy you'd really fear. One of the 2 players I would say in the league that you really feared playing this year, non-quarterback. Just a really good year by Jamar Chase. Little Big Men with their 3rd player on the all fantasy team, George Kittle, 8 points per game, significantly down from last year's number 2 receiver of CeeDee Lamb at 9.6. The receiver injuries this year might have something to do with it. Chris Godwin was really good. Rashee Rice was having a good year to start the year. Don't know if they would have finished that way. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. There was almost 2 points less per week as the number 2 receiver. But still a really good year. Best fantasy year of George Kittle's career? Question mark. I think so. But yeah, really good year there, and a really good pick by the Little Big Men. 3rd receiver was Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7.8 points per game, down from last year's Mike Evans 8.6. Amon-Ra, Mr. Consistency, typically, yeah, maybe 8.5. So about on par for what he's done. Just consistency, 7-8 catches a week, 60 to 80 yards a game, pretty much minimum touchdown 75% of the time. So heck of a player on the Lions team. Joe Mixon at 13 points, 13.1, which if you're wondering wasn't Derrick Henry at 12.9. Joe Mixon missed a couple games, so that's why he's the flex this year. Kyren Williams last year was at 12.2, so also a team Price is Right player. So a big year there for him, and he carried his team. Another player that kind of was feared. He was pretty much good for a touchdown and close to 100 yards a game when he played. So good year for Joe Mixon and a very good second, maybe even a third round pick he was. I'm not sure, but good pick there. Team price is right. Kicker this year was Chris Boswell at 10.5 points per game. Last year, best kicker was Brandon Aubrey at 9.9 for the Maulers. The year of the kicker kind of this year, outside of all the kicker injuries, which was kind of crazy, kickers put up a lot of points this week. This year, a couple times. I mean, Boswell had 18 points. Fairbairn for me, I know had a pretty consistently good year of almost 10 points a game. There was other guys. The guy for Austin Siebert for the Commanders had a great year. Brandon Aubrey before the Cowboys were injured was fantastic. So yeah, the year of the kicker kind of this year in fantasy. The Denver defense, 2 points less per game this year than the number one defense last year, the Cowboys. Still 7.4 points per game, lots of sacks, a fair amount of touchdowns. Thank you, Jameis, for those 2 pick-sixes that got him on for Chris's Cardinals. I forgot my logo on there, but that was my only representative on the all fantasy team. Finally, we'll take a look ahead. Oh, there it is. Did show up finally. To the Super Bowl pod, week 1 here coming up. Remember, this is a 2-week thing. I have 6 points to start. Griff, I think, has 1.1. Badgers have 0.5, and the Horn Dogs have 0. So not much of a high point or home field advantage. As we'll go in here, 2 weeks. So next week there is no home field advantage. It's just 1 week. So that's what we have there. So we do have the Cardinals representing the number 2 seed, number 1 seed, the Horn Dogs, the Gargoyles / Pterodactyls / Dynamite representing, they're actually the 11 seed coming in. They made it in the playoffs. And then the number 4 seed, Badgers, right there. So it'll be an interesting race. Next 2 weeks will be crazy. And next week will be the Fantasy Honors, again on Wednesday. So best of luck to everyone else. Not the Gargoyles, not the Dynamite, not the Pterodactyls, not the Horn Dogs, not the Badgers. Hopefully have a nice, good lead going into the second half of the Super Bowl. So see everybody next week. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe.